Hello everybody, Marty Richards with Greater Richland Tourism here today. And yes indeed, it is another episode of Why Do We Call It That? So today we find ourselves in the thriving metropolis of Basswood. It was about 1850 or so that James Lucas was the first settler that came, plotted out his area, set up a farm and began farming. Well, that meant that the name of the town at first was Lucas, of course. So that continued until about 1869. In 1869, the post office came here, and just without any notice to any of the residents of Lucas, the new name then was Basswood. But it was two names, Bass and Wood. And that was after the trees that were here. There were plentiful basswood trees that were used to build many of the first buildings, and then even sold that lumber for use in other areas. The real, but wait a minute, there's more story, has to do with the tavern that used to exist here. So right around the turn of the century, into the 1900s, there actually was a tavern here in Basswood. Also, just down the road, which you might have heard us do our recent story on Eagle Corners, there was a tavern there as well. And the owner of that tavern was very enterprising at the time. There are a few newspaper clippings that describe him as shrewd, as a shrewd business owner. And his proposal was that he purchase the Basswood Tavern. Well, at that time, the owner of the Basswood Tavern was perfectly happy to continue to run the tavern. Business was good, and he didn't want to sell. Mysteriously, and we found a few paper clippings about this, there then, shortly after that failed negotiation, was a fire at the Basswood Tavern. Yes, it did burn down completely. No one was injured as far as we could tell. And the tavern at Eagle Corners continued to thrive after that, and no tavern was built back in Basswood. The cause or origin of the fire, as far as we could tell in any of the newspaper clippings from that time, did not explain or find a reason for the fire. So that's your little bit of true crime story here out of Basswood, Wisconsin. But when you're in the area, we encourage you really check out. It's a beautiful scenery. That is why we call it Basswood. I'm Marty Richards for Greater Richland Tourism. Let's everybody have a great day.